little nervous. Like I'm.
Hey guys, I am so excited for this week. So you guys remember Carly when I had her on, I actually have her mom because her mom is a fellow adoptee and birth mama. So I'm super excited that she said yes to this. I just totally spaced what I was going to say. Oh, her name's Andrea. There we go. And I just love her, just love her. I've gotten to know her. Again, she is one of my husband's friend's sister is how I know her. And I just love her. And I think she's the sweetest. So I'm super excited to listen more on her story. I know some of it, but not a ton of it. So I'm excited for her to share and we will get to know. So I will turn the time over to you.
Yay. No, I'm excited for this. And how cute was Carly? Seriously, I watched it and I was just like bawling. I'm like, oh, not something that she talks about very often. So, and excuse my voice. I'm recovering from a cold. Anyway, like Milena said, my name is Andrea. Where do I start? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I was adopted when I was 5 weeks old. My birth mom was 15 years old when she had me, and my parents had tried and tried and tried for years and years to have kids, and they couldn't for whatever reason. They just couldn't. So so they came into the opportunity through, actually, it's kind of a funny story. Through my uncle knew somebody that knew, it's like my uncle knew somebody that knew me. And my uncle was also looking to adopt and actually adopted a little boy right before he found out about me. And so then passed on the information to my parents. And so I could have been either my uncle's kiddo or I'm with my parents. But I was meant to be in this family. So, okay, so I was adopted, and then I've always known from the time I was itty bitty. My parents never hid that from me. And clearly I look adopted. My mom is from Mexico City, and my dad he was born in Utah, but grew up in Phoenix. So I used to always say when people would ask, because I wasn't always comfortable being like, I'm adopted. When I was younger, I just say, I look like my dad, because we look more alike, if that's at all possible. And so, yeah, so I struggled in my teens a lot, knowing that I was adopted, and had a lot of feelings of why, and, being a teenager and having all those crazy hormones anyway, and then all that on top of it. And then as I got older, in high school, I, like Melina said, I'm also a birth mom. So in high school, I was dating a boy, and we were for sure, your high school brain, we're going to get married. And I ended up getting pregnant and had a little boy. And I actually kept him for a little while, with the hopes of things working out. And I mean, I clearly wanted to. And so I ended up placing him for adoption when he was a little bit older. That really was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And sorry, not a day goes by that I don't think of him or think, what's he doing, or what does he look like, or the adoption was not open. And I did ask the parents if they would send me something every year on his birthday, just to let me know how he was doing. But that didn't work out, and it's okay. It's okay. I know that he's healthy, and I know that he's happy. I was in a position where I was 18 years old, and I was trying to juggle way too much, and it was too hard. It was just way too hard. So I did what I thought was best. So then fast forward 2 years after that, and I was in another relationship with somebody, and again, thinking that life was going to work out and it was going to be wonderful. And I had found my dream person. I found out I was pregnant again, and I just thought, oh my gosh, Andrea, seriously, how dumb can you be? Let's do this again, you know? And he ended up going back home to be with his family. He kind of didn't want anything to do with that. And I'm not angry or bitter or anything like that. It worked out the way it was supposed to. Like Carly said last week, he or his family just were not very involved. They actually said, we want nothing to do with you, you know, kind of thing. And then when she turned, just before she turned 3, her grandpa reached out to me and just said that his wife cries herself to sleep at night sometimes because she knows she has a granddaughter out there that she didn't know. And so they wondered if it would be okay if they could get to know her. And I was really torn, but I wasn't dating anybody at the time. And so I just thought, okay. And so I turned to my dad and my parents, you know, because they're wiser and know more. And I just said, what do I do? Because I'm not dating anyone. I'm not going to get married right now anyway. And so my dad just said, you know, Andrea, what can it hurt Carly to know that there's more people in this world that love her and want to support her in her life? And I thought, you know what, you're absolutely 100% right. And so the grandparents started to become a part of her life when she was 3. And she has met her biological father, I think twice. But she was young. She doesn't remember much. So let's see, where was I going with that? I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so then and then 3 weeks later, after going through all of that, I actually met my husband, and he is an incredible man. He took on a lot more than most people would. You know, I kind of felt like damaged goods, you know? I mean, who wants to marry somebody who's had 2 kids already, unmarried, and all the baggage that comes with it? But he was up for the challenge. And so we were married and sealed and in the temple, and we have 5 children now. And he is a great husband, father, and he is my best friend. And I'm so grateful to him. And I've definitely over the years from all of my crazy lifestyle and my mistakes and things that I made, I've definitely seen the hand of the Lord in my life. And I'm so grateful that it's okay if you're damaged goods, you know, or if you feel that way, because you're not to him. And I was still worthy of blessings and to have a happy life, you know. So and then to go, sorry, I'm kind of skipping all over the place. I hope when you replay this, it's like people aren't like, what's she talking about? But so my husband a few years ago, I think 2017, I'm skipping back over to my adoption story. 2017, my husband got me Ancestry for Christmas. And I had actually reached out to Milena before this because she was talking about her birth story and how she had found her birth mom. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe she can totally help me. And her friend had started to help me try and figure some stuff out. And my husband got me Ancestry for Christmas and I didn't know. And so it showed up on the door and he's like, here, I need you to do this. And he sent it in. And he got the results back, I think, like a week before Christmas. And it said, it showed, a bunch of people that could be possible like cousins or how closely related they were. And then there was one person that said it could possibly be a biological parent. And Jake just thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, we may have found one of her biological parents. Like, what? This is so nuts. He's like, do I tell her? Do I not? Like, is it gonna mess her up? Like, maybe I should just, and he just fretted over it for like 3 or 4 days, like before Christmas. And he's like, I don't know, like, I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to. And he knew that I was always interested in finding out more information. Um, because when you're adopted and you go to the doctor and they're like, any past history? I just like put an X through it. Like, I have no idea. So anyway, so he ended up giving it to me on Christmas Eve. And it was just the two of us in our room. And he's like, I have a present for you. And I wanted to give it to you before all the craziness of Christmas tomorrow. And I just wanted you to know that I love you and we'll figure this out together. And so I opened it. And of course it tells you, like where your ancestors are from, which was like Wells and like back that way. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, look at this. And we were looking at all the information. And then I was scrolling down, like looking at some of the people that I could be related to. And then it said this email address, and it was like, could be a possible biological parent. And I thought, oh my gosh, my heart just like did a triple beat. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a name. Like, I knew her name, I guess, but I had an email address. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And so we sat there and like laughed together and cried together and hugged. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. And so so exciting to just have that little bit of information, when you grew up not knowing a whole lot. And so I fretted about it for a few days. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to send an email and see what happens. Like, I'm just going to send the email. So I sent an email and just, said, hey, I did Ancestry and it shows that we may be closely related. And I just was reaching out to see, and it took about a little over a week to get a reply. And you can just imagine, like, a week seems like an eternity when you're like waiting for this reply from somebody. And I got a reply, and she just said, if you were born this date in this city at this time at this hospital, then I am probably your biological mother. And I just was like over the moon. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I actually was able to talk to her. What? She got my email. This is her. Like, so we were able to email back and forth for a few months. And I got to learn some things about her. She also was adopted somehow on her mother's side. And so she didn't have a whole lot of medical information that she could give me. She doesn't talk much about her past. I think it's something that's very hard for her. And so I just know, like kind of like an acquaintance. Like, you could kind of know a few things about them, like I know her favorite color is green, I couldn't tell you what her favorite food is. Like, there's just certain things that I just still to this day don't really know. Um, but so we emailed back and forth for a few months, and then I was actually able to meet up with her. She still lives in my hometown where I was born, and she flew up to meet me, and we went and spent the day together. And that kind of was kind of crazy to think that I was standing next to this person that I've always wondered who she was, and it was great to be able to spend some time with her. We kind of did like I lived in Seattle at the time. We did like one of the big museums up there and just kind of walked around and had lunch together and visited, and it was great. And since then, she has still stayed in contact. She doesn't like to talk on the phone much, and so she does a lot of texting. So we'll text back and forth. Last year for my birthday, we actually ended up moving to Texas, and so last year for my birthday, she came up and took my whole family out to dinner. She is so generous and so kind, and she sends us all birthday cards and Christmas presents, and she's very, very sweet, and it's been a huge blessing and a huge what's the word I'm looking for? It's been a huge it's been able to heal my heart from all of those feelings that I had as as a teenager, as a young person, feeling like I kind of didn't fit in, like I was so different than everyone else. And it's not that I really was, but that's just how I felt. I felt like everybody could see that I was so different from anyone in my family because I was adopted, but if you ask anyone that knew my family or knew me, they're like, no, we didn't feel like that you were so different from everyone in your family. So so that has been a huge blessing, to get to know her a little bit and to meet her, and my kids know her and they know who she is. To me, they don't call her grandma, they call her by her name. That's what she prefers. And yeah, and so in talking with her, I was just curious too, if she had any other children, because as an adoptee, you're like, oh, do I have other siblings out there? Like what? And she did not. She said she didn't want to have any other kids. So she doesn't have other kids. And now I haven't reached out to my biological father's side. She did give me a name, but I just haven't, I don't know, maybe one day. I haven't reached out that way just yet. I feel that in meeting her and getting to know her a little bit, it really has healed my heart, and I've been able to understand, as an adoptee and as somebody who has placed for adoption, the reasons why, and the huge blessing it can be, not only in your own life, but in those lives of people who are seeking adoption. I think adoption is amazing. I think it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I know that I was placed in the family that I was supposed to grow up in. I know that now, looking back, even though I struggled with it, I know that this is where I was supposed to be, and this is the family I was supposed to be in. And I know that my birth mom made that sacrifice for me. And I know that I made that sacrifice for my little boy. And so I've always, always hoped that maybe one day that adoption could go full circle in my home. That maybe we could adopt, but it is so stinking expensive, that it's kind of hard to, and we have 5 children. And so, I just don't know. Maybe there's a possibility for that still one day, but I think that is awesome what you're doing. And I think that it has been so fun for me to sit and watch your little videos of people that you've interviewed and people that you've talked to, some of which I have known and some I don't know, but I have felt such a connection to them because we are all connected, because through this, sorry, through this wonderful gift of adoption, we have all been able to tell these awesome stories and hopefully help enrich other people's lives and help others understand that it is a good thing and it is awesome. And for anybody who's out there looking for their birth parent, don't give up. You might find them and maybe you won't, but just know that you're not alone. There's a lot of us out there and we need to rally together. And I just think it's so awesome. And now I just feel like I'm rambling, so you can stop me at any time.
No, you're good. And seriously, amen to everything that you said, because that, like, the more that I've done these interviews, I'm gonna get really real right now, is like I've stumbled upon where there's a lot of people who are very disgruntled with adoption, and it really breaks my heart because of their experiences with growing up or with their adoptive families. They've had bad raps, or they meet birth families and it just goes all wrong. And I know with my story, if people have followed it, I grew up in a very awesome, loving, wholesome family, and I have met my birth family. And obviously, I don't share every detail about my birth family, but there's struggles and there's hardships. And I'm just like Andrea, like for me, it hit later on in my life where I'm like, why? Why was I given up for adoption? And then on the flip side with me, there's 6 siblings down there still with my birth mom. So for me, I'm just kind of like, what the hell? Like, why just me? And I'm smack dab in the middle. So for me, it's like, it's something I'm working through and struggling. But like when you were talking about giving your son up for adoption, and this is something with every single birth mom I felt, and I've always had such mad respect for my own birth mom before I even knew her, is like the sacrifice and the love. It's, to me, and I know some people might not agree with me, it's 100% love for that mom to do that, to want this child to maybe not have the things that like they can't provide for them, and they want them to, like, that's exactly what mine was. My birth mom was like, I want you to have a mom and a dad, because there was no dad in the picture for me. And she wanted me to have a better life. She just like felt that way. Oh, sorry, freaking Siri on my watch. But you can just feel the love. And I just think it's so great. And that's the thing, is like adoption can be ugly and it can be hard. I mean, you voice that with having to give up a baby, with having to have those struggles as a teenager, being like, kind of like, why me? Like, what the hell? And on the flip side, I love that, like, you know more Spanish than I do, and I look like I should know more Spanish than you, but I know none. Like, your mom, which is amazing. And even Carly, when I was talking to her last week, she's like, I'm like, oh, I forget you have 2 boys. Your grandmother a lot with because grandma was around so much, and so of course she knew Spanish, and so, but it can, like, to go back, it can be ugly, it can be hard, but the thing that I can see with you is that you have dug through the pile of shit to get to a point where you can be appreciative and realize that everything happens. And most people who I feel like who have maybe had a rough experience with adoption or have had a good experience with adoption, every single person has had like a blip of God being in there, like, or a higher power. They know that. They know everything's meant to be the way it is, even if it's sucky. Like, there's some adoptees I've adopted, if shit's gone the wrong way when they reach birth families, but they haven't let them get that down. You know, they're like, I have this family, I'll keep going. Like, I know one girl for a fact, I interviewed her quite a while ago, and that's what she said. She was really hard because they wanted nothing to do with her, and it was hard. But then she just had to dig and realize, you know, my mom and dad, these people that raised me, and, you know, you don't have to look the same to be family. Like, I mean, you look at these people who grow up even not in adoption, and they're kind of adopted into a family because maybe they don't have family, but they get really close with the family, and then this family just takes them in. Like, it's so different how it happens. And so I really appreciate you coming on. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No.
I appreciate it because for me, I want to show the good and yes, the ugly with adoption, but for the most part, it's so beautiful. And yes, there's hardship and it's with anything. And I don't want it to be like drug in the dirt and mud. And I just love your story. I've learned so much from that. And like when you were tearing up about giving your son up for adoption, of course I'm sitting over here bawling because like I'm on the other end of that receiving love. I had a mom who loved me enough to, want me to have a better life. And that's something that you just, I don't know how people can't be grateful for that when the outcome is good. Don't get me wrong. There's been struggles and trials and all this stuff, especially with finding my birth family. My parents weren't too fond of that, but you know what I mean? Like there's hardship that happens, but you just have to do what's best for you. And I just love it. And I'm so happy. You have the cutest family. When we went to Washington,
Thank you.
So bummed you guys were because I'm like, Ben, we could go visit them while they're,
I know.
but no, and it just makes my heart so happy that you have found Jake and that he is just everything that you've needed for you and your family, and you can see that love with Carly. How much love he's brought to her, and he, she is his. That's just plain and simple how it is, and I love it. And I love it how it's, a different adoption's different in so many ways, but it's so beautiful. So anything else? Sorry, I just kind of went off on a tangent there. Anything else you want to share or advice? I know you gave some advice at the end, like, and for maybe some advice for birth moms or even adoptive families. Like any advice for people there?
I don't know. I mean, if you're looking to adopt, and I know that the people that adopted my son, they had been looking for a long time. And so I guess for those who are looking to adopt, like, I know it's hard and I know it's a long road and I know sometimes you meet people and then it doesn't end up working out. But if you are looking to adopt, like, don't give up, it will happen, and it will happen in the time that it's supposed to, for those who are maybe contemplating giving or placing for adoption, my heart just goes out to you. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You know how hard that is. You know how hard it is, but you also know the joy in it. That's why, and I love it. I love it.
It is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. And you'll never forget them. You never will. Every year on his birthday, my sweet husband brings a cake or a cupcake or a cookie, and we celebrate together. It's his birthday.
If all y'all don't love Jake by the end of this, you'll love Jake now. Good for y'all.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful.
Every year. But blessings come tenfold to that family and to you. And if you're feeling, I don't know, I felt so alone and so broken and so so many things. I mean, we could talk like for an hour about that, but we won't get into all the nitty gritties. But don't give up. You're not broken. There is hope, and you can have lasting joy and happiness in your life. And and if you decide to place for adoption, you are giving somebody the greatest gift that they are unable to have at this time in their life. And your time for happiness will come too. And then and then for those who are adopted, like myself, if you're seeking to find information about your adoptive family, and you think that will help you, do it. Try and find what you can. I know, like Milena said, that there's some people that maybe don't really want a lot to do with that because it brings up a lot of hard emotions. I mean, clearly you can see me just crying over here. it's a hard thing. And and as an adoptee, you have questions like, like why me, why couldn't you just keep me, why? And so to try and think of, what do you say to that, you know? um but um but if you're looking, keep looking for them, and if you meet them and you get some answers to questions that you have, then hopefully that will heal your heart and help you realize that your life is exactly where you were supposed to be, and that your life has been richly blessed because of adoption. So
No, I think it's great, and I think it's wonderful. And that's the thing, is like, adoptions, it's not easy because there's a lot of questions. And I guarantee, as a birth mom too, there's a lot of questions and hardships and the unknown. There is the unknown because, hello, you want to know about the one that you've given up. And I know that for a fact. That's one of the first things that my birth mom told me, is she's like, I prayed for you every single day. I thought about you every single day. Like, you're always on my mind because, hello, like, you grow inside that person and you make a connection, and then so I totally get it. And it's wonderful and it's amazing. And I do like the shift. It's a lot different than with me and you when we were adopted. Everything was closed and a lot of things are being open now, and I think it's beautiful. I know some adoptees don't like that because of our generation where it was so closed and they think it'd be too hard, but I think it's so beautiful because I've seen it work out in families. Like, one family I interviewed, their kids have 6 grandparents because everybody wants to be involved from like the birth parent side. And I'm like,
so awesome.
Want 6 grandparents?
So awesome.
Yes,
think about those kids. Like, they have so many people who are just like cheering for them and rooting for them. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, goes back to what your dad said. How is it going to be hurtful the more people that you have to love you? Like, really?
Yes.
And I feel like most of the time, most birth moms, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like, they want that connection and they're grateful that they have those parents for their time in their life they maybe could not have, provided right then. It's not that it's not a great loss that, that you gave your child up, but at the same time, you can see how happy. And of course, there's all those other emotions that I have no clue go into it being a birth mom as well, but like, it's just amazing. I love adoption. I'm always going to advocate for it, and I'm always going to continue to do these. And there are going to be people I'll bring on that will have hard conversations. But overall, I think adoption is amazing and beautiful. And I feel like you feel the same way with that too.
Yes, keep doing it. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I really do. I love watching. I've loved watching them all. I'm a little behind, but I've been watching a lot of them, and I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. Like, where did you even come up with the idea to do it? Like, I think it's great.
No, that's a crazy thing. I don't even know where I came up with the idea. Like, it's just something I think God was like, okay, Melina, because but it's been good, and I'm glad you've enjoyed them. There's more to come.
Awesome.
Of course, I'm not done with it. So seriously though, but thank you, Andrea, for taking some time out of your day. I know you're not 100%. I mean, hello, hear me too. I've got a cold. This is the season, being winter.
Yes, tis the season.
Yes. So thank you so much. Keep feeling better.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have loved catching up and chatting with you.
You too. And I hope, I don't know. Hope you all can understand.
Yes. No,
I kind of went all over the place. So
no, you did. You went chronological order, so it was great. It was good. Even though it was bouncing, like, I got it.
It's hard to put like your whole life into like a few minutes, So
no, awesome. So seriously, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.